The initial 2025 53-man roster for your Washington Commanders has been set, and today here on the Commanders Report, I'm going to be reacting to that initial roster that the Commanders put out earlier today. Now, before we get into the content today, make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you are excited for this season. Of course, last year, you go from the number 2 pick in the NFL draft to the number 2 team in the NFC Conference, getting to the NFC Championship game. This year, you get Terry McLaurin's deal done. You bring in some very exciting players like Deebo Samuel and Laramie Tunsil and all these different guys that they have brought in. And I am very excited to see what this team is going to be able to do this year, led by quarterback Jaden Daniels. If you're with me on that, click that thumbs up icon if you are ready for 2025. Speaking of Jaden Daniels, he kicks off our roster breakdown here. He's one of the 3 quarterbacks that ended up making the final 53-man roster here. Jaden Daniels, Marcus Mariota, and Josh Johnson make the initial 53-man roster. Now, I would say maybe keep your eye out for maybe a waiver claim at quarterback if there's somebody that they really like. Josh Johnson didn't have the best preseason this year, and that was playing against backup. So if there's a better QB3 option that's out there, it wouldn't shock me if the Commanders switch out Josh Johnson for somebody else. But then you get to the running backs here. 4 running backs are carried this year by the Washington Commanders, the same 4 that I predicted in my roster projection yesterday. Bill Krosky-Merritt, Austin Eckler, Chris Rodriguez Jr., and Jeremy McNichols all make the initial 53-man roster. And I do think with the youth of Bill Krosky-Merritt and then all the versatility that these guys bring to the table, I do think that keeping these 4 guys makes sense for this specific football team, especially because offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury likes to put multiple backs in the backfield to go pony personnel. So really like the fact that they're bringing in 4 running backs here on the initial roster. Then you get to the wide receivers, and they're only carrying 5. And we also predicted this correctly on our roster projection here on the Commanders Report. Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel, and Noah Brown are expected to be your starting 3. Jalen Lane and Luke McCaffrey are the 2 guys that prove themselves the most out of the depth receivers in training camp and during the preseason. So they get retained on this roster as well. And then they're also going to be carrying 4 tight ends. Zach Ertz, John Bates are your starting duo. Ertz is your receiving guy. John Bates is your blocking guy. Ben Sinnott could be a little bit of a chess piece this year as a manufactured touch guy. He can block a little bit. He's also the future at the position as a former second-round pick, but he's your tight end 3. And then Colson Yankoff, special teams specialist, but also he showed off in that last preseason game that he can rip off 50-yard seam routes apparently. So good stuff there, getting Yankoff back on the team. The same 4 tight ends from last year make the team this year. Then you get to the offensive line here. Sam Cosmi is going to start the year on IR, which means that Nick Allegretti was listed as the starting right guard heading into the year. Andrew Wiley was listed as the starting right tackle, at least in terms of the ordering that the Commanders put out these names in. Laramie Tunsil, Brandon Coleman, Tyler Biadasz, Nick Allegretti, and Andrew Wiley appear to be your starting 5 heading into the year. First-round pick Josh Connerly Jr., he might get in at some point this year if there's an injury to someone somewhere, but it appears that he will start the season on the bench. Then you got George Fant as a swing tackle, veteran guy. Trent Scott, who can play inside or out. Chris Paul, a veteran guard that once again makes the team this year. And when it comes to Sam Cosmi's situation, guys, he's going to start the year on the reserve/pup list, which means he will miss at least the first 4 weeks of the NFL season. Now, according to all reports from Dan Quinn and everyone inside the Commanders organization, Cosmi is hitting every step along the way in his rehabilitation, coming off that major injury that he had against the Detroit Lions in last year's playoffs. So the fact that, there was some discussion about him maybe not being on IR and not being on the PUP to start the season shows that he is definitely making progress, and I think that we see him on the field sooner rather than later. Now, coming up here on the Commanders Report, a defensive roster breakdown here. We went over the offense. Next up, we got the defensive roster that initially made this Commanders 53-man roster this year. But before we get into the rest of today's video, let's have a word from our sponsor today, a brand new sponsor here on the Commanders Report, which is Harry's. And let's face it, guys, buying razors in today's market absolutely sucks. The quality products are always too expensive, and when you try to save yourself a couple bucks by getting something a little bit more affordable, you get stuck with razors that go dull way too fast and irritate your skin. It's absolutely abysmal, guys. That's why I switched to Harry's, and you can get Harry's trial set today for only $8, plus you get a free gift at harrys.com/chat. With Harry's, you get a barbershop quality shave with German-engineered blades honed at 3 different angles to cut hair cleanly at the root without any tugging. But what makes Harry's the brand I trust is you get the quality shave without having to break the bank. Harry's owns their own factory in Germany, so there's no middlemen involved, which allows Harry's to pass down the savings to the consumer. And if you don't love your shave, Harry's will make it right, no questions asked. Their risk-free trial means there's zero downside to giving Harry's a shot. And I'm so glad that Harry's has decided to partner with us here at the Commander's Report, because I've actually been using their products for years, guys. And what I love about Harry's shaving products, and specifically their razors, is that it's a reusable stem, and you can just pop off one of the razor heads and you can replace it with a new one, so you don't have to get a completely new razor every time that you guys need to get a new shave. And super affordable products as well, high quality. It doesn't cut you, it doesn't nick you as much as definitely not as much as other products. It doesn't irritate your skin nearly as much, and you can get multiple uses out of each razor head from Harry's as well. They also have great shave balm as well that I also recommend. They also have great shaving cream, and they have a bunch of great products for you guys to try out today. But for a limited time only, our listeners can get Harry's trial set for only $8 plus a free gift at harrys.com/chat. Just head on over to harrys.com/chat to receive our exclusive discount. After your purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. A big shout out to Harry's for sponsoring today's edition of the Commander's Report. Moving on to the defense here, 5 interior defensive linemen for the Commanders to start the season. Daron Payne, Javon Kinlaw, Jazon Newton. Eddie Goldman makes this team. And then Dietrich Wise, kind of a hybrid player, kind of like a 3-4 defensive end type, kind of a bigger dude, but he's going to be playing in more of an interior type of role in this Commanders defense, so that's why I list him here as a defensive tackle as opposed to an edge rusher, but you could put him on either category. In terms of the edge rushers, Von Miller, who is technically listed as a linebacker, but he's going to be an edge rusher. Dorrance Armstrong, Jacob Martin, who had a really good preseason, by the way, and then Javonte Jean-Baptiste, somebody that was a former draft pick for this team, a late rounder. And Dan Quinn has really praised Jean-Baptiste all throughout the offseason, so that is not something that is too big of a surprise. Then you get to the linebackers. Frankie Louva will also dabble at times at edge, but he will play mostly off-ball backer. You got Bobby Wagner as your Mike. Jordan McGee will rotate in. He had a really good final preseason game, by the way. Kane Medrano does end up making this team. He's going to be more of a special teamer and developmental piece, kind of similar to what Jordan McGee and Tyler Owens and Dominique Hampton were for this team last year. Ali Cahoe, his teammate from UCLA, had a phenomenal preseason as a UDFA. He's actually probably going to slot in as the 4th off-ball linebacker in this group, probably ahead of Kane Medrano. I thought he had a better preseason than him. And then Nick Bellore is another guy, just true special team specialist, also makes this team. Then 5 safeties for the Commanders this year. Quan Martin and Will Harris will be your starters. Jeremy Reeves appears to be the starting bandit safety heading into the year that we've talked about extensively over the offseason. It appears Reeves won that battle in training camp. Percy Butler is also on this team once again. Then Tyler Owens makes this team as kind of a physical freak that is still developing. Then you get to the cornerback room. 5 corners for the Commanders this year to start off. Marshawn Lattimore and Trey Amos is listed as the number 2 corner on the post that they put out earlier today, indicating that he will be this team's starting number 2 outside corner, with Mike Samerstill listed 3rd, which means that he is going to be the starting slot. Then you got Jonathan Jones, who can play inside or out, but to see Amos win that job out of camp is really good to see. And then Noah Igbenogany, somebody that can play inside or out, better in the slot than outside, kind of undersized, but he's not afraid to put his face in the fan. He's got some experience with this defense. Was a starter for them last year for much of the season, so I can't say that I hate Igbenogany coming back. He had a decent preseason. Then on special teams, Matt Gay is retained for now at kicker. You got Tress Way as the punter, Tyler Ott as the long snapper. No surprises there. And in terms of the entire roster here, guys, we of course put out our roster projection yesterday, and we were 50 of 53, so not bad whatsoever I don't know if there's other people out there that got more than we did, but I think 50 out of 53 is a pretty decent number, considering all the different roster battles and roster bubble players. I think we did a pretty good job this year. But some of the notable cuts here before we head out: Sam Hartman is expected to potentially come back on practice squad, or at least that's the initial reporting. He's essentially Jaden Daniels' pet at this point, so he stinks at football, but Jaden Daniels enjoys him, so he's probably going to be in the quarterback room. KJ Osborne, Tay Martin, Ja'Cory Brooks, and Chris Moore also got cut. I would say look out for Ja'Cory Brooks to make the practice squad. The other guys we'll see. Tim McKay is another kind of developmental UDFA. They spent a lot of money on him as a UDFA after the draft. We'll see if they bring him back on practice squad. Cleveland Furl had a role with this team last year, and he ends up getting cut. That one was a little bit of a surprise today. Same thing with Sheldon Day. I thought Day played a lot better than Eddie Goldman in the preseason this year, but I guess they trust the veteran presence of Goldman a little bit more. That's one I probably disagree with. But then Antonio Hamilton Sr., veteran corner, gets released. Robert McDaniel is somebody to keep your eye on for practice squad. With his versatility, the Commanders like some of that versatility that he brings to the table. Can play a bunch of different spots with the scout team there. But let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. What was the biggest surprise on this initial roster announcement for the Washington Commanders? What was the most surprising cut or keep in your opinion? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. And that'll be it for today's edition of the Commanders Report by Chat Sports. Thank you guys so much for stopping by here today. We'll see you guys tomorrow. And until then, guys, hail to the Commanders.